Welcome back to the Authentic Human Podcast. I'm Michelle Vickers, and this is part 71 of the story of creation. So, if you've been following along on this journey with us, we've been exploring both the origins, if you will, of creation, how creation came to be. And we're not exploring it from an after the fact, right? We're not trying to find evidence and putting pieces together. We're actually having conversations with the universal beings who created existence, who created every experience that we have. They created matter. And I know that that's a challenging concept for a lot of people for our minds really to accept, especially if we have been in a belief system where we don't know the truth. We don't know our roots. We don't know our origins. And, science, if we're under this belief that science is the one that will find it, this is where it's really challenging to believe. So I get this. If this video, if this, conversation isn't for you, thank you so much for checking us out. But if you are of a mind to believe concepts that challenge the system, challenge the belief system that we've been trained under, if you will, that's what they're showing me. And so this is for you. This is for you, so that we can not only confirm that your instincts and your feelings are correct, but the goal is to encourage you to go even deeper and to go even further. And so the creator, he understands, like he's saying, he knows how intelligent and how curious humans naturally are because he had a hand in the creation, right? So he knows you. He understands your instincts and he understands your drive, right? Your reason for existing. He understands that. And he knows that internally you have, it's like a magnetic pull towards fulfillment. And the challenge that humanity is experiencing currently, excuse me, is we often don't understand how to follow that path to our fulfillment, because we have so many things we have to do. Okay. And what I mean by that is, and it's interesting because this changes the list of our to-do list, if you will, changes regularly throughout our life, right? So, when you're a child and when you're younger, someone else is creating your to-do list for you. Someone else is deciding who you need to be, where you need to be, and how you need to show up and be. And it's really interesting because that's when we begin to learn how to how they're showing me. It's really interesting. It's how we are performing for other people. That's when we begin to learn that approach to life. And so what happens is it's building a foundation where we are consistently in search of external gratification, which means we want the approval of other humans. That is ultimately what we have now assimilated. So that's our understanding of fulfillment. We feel, gratification when someone else says, wow, that was a great job. That was amazing. Good job. Way to go. And that's part of this manipulation system. Okay. Because, and this is going to be challenging. Sometimes it's really hard to hear these concepts because they're so ingrained. And not only are they ingrained in us because we want to receive them, they're also ingrained in us to offer our friends, our loved ones, our coworkers, like people in our lives, right? We're like, yeah, that was awesome. Way to go. I can tell you, I've even like I can see I'm full on in this. Like I have a full leg, foot in it. Like they're showing me, so I'm not immune to this either. Just so you know, they're showing me all of this. I'm like, yay, this is me too. Okay, so back to them. So ultimately, what happens is it's okay. So your brain is basically thousands, well, hundreds of thousands of these little neurons. And they're like magnetic, well, they're neurons. And what happens is as you do things, okay, throughout your day, little sparks go off, okay? And what happens is those sparks are in reaction to your experiences. And depending on how those sparks come to be, okay, so some of them will be delightful, some of them will be painful and uncomfortable because they're actually connecting with the central nervous system, either in a way that enhances it or in a way that detracts from it, okay? And so it's a bit of heavier science, but it's really important to understand. And this is why they're explaining it in this way, because as souls in this universe, okay, we have a natural state of balance that we are striving towards, if you will. Okay. So we want to remain in that balance. But when the balance is triggered by something that's either, brings high levels of joy or brings extreme levels of pain or discomfort, what happens is okay, I got to feel right into this because it's a bigger scientific approach, if you will. And so these neurons are charged with different vibrations of energy. Okay. And so the energy is then being fed into the brain. This is why we have different reactions. Okay. Now, we've been trained to think of these reactions as emotions, right? So they have these labels of emotions. And then, right, so they're showing me very specifically the medical system, if you will, and why they're showing me some like a medical person in a white lab coat in a room that is very sterile, and that we go into that room and the label is placed. It will describe our symptoms, okay, and our experience. And then that person that we have trusted will use a word, a descriptive word, okay, which ultimately is a label, but it's a descriptive word that classifies you as a particular type of human being. Now, this is really important to understand. There is no classifications from a universal perspective, okay? Classifications are a scientific approach. So they are a mental approach to understanding existence. But that's not how existence works. It doesn't work in classifications because a classification ultimately means we're going to group these people or this type of experience into a group ultimately, which is crazy because there's no such thing as a random grouping, because that's really what it is. So that the person, okay, I know this is intense, guys, and I know that it may not be making enough sense, but bear with me. I'm going to keep going, okay, all the way through it. With human existence, there's no such thing as classifications because every single human is having the exact experiences that they need to trigger different responses in their vibration. So their energy, right? So which is the frequency and vibration that's running through your body, including your mind, to determine, so to help you determine, okay? So the energy isn't determining it. The energy is the experience you need to help you make decisions so you can move forward in your exploration of your existence. That's why they happen, right? So they're there to tell you what you need to know about you. The problem is that we've been trained to funnel. This is how they're showing me. It's like funnel in the sense of, you know, when there's like cattle and they have to go through all, like to get from one field or one pen to another, and they're funneled through with all kinds of gates so that they don't go out of line, right? That's ultimately what the scientific and medical systems have created, is they've created systems of classification. And that concept in itself is not only limiting to human existence, it's actually now at the level of causing extreme suffering. Why? Because when you, at this stage in the human condition, if you will, okay, when you take on a classification, it is a belief that is static. So there's no room inside of that classification for your growth. What happens is it becomes your reason for not participating further, which is exactly what it was designed to do. Okay. Yeah. So they want to go back and we're looking at the brain again. So when these neurons spark, okay, when they engage, it's universal energy. It's a vibration that obviously is in a language that speaks to who you are. The challenge is that humans have come to, again, another belief that language is how we communicate, is how we learn, is how we experience ourselves. And so what we do is we go into, you know, an expert's office or whatever it is, but we go to them and then we choose to allow them. And that's really what it is. Because the moment you walk into that room, okay, you're allowing them to make a determination on your existence. Now, this is a challenging belief to overcome, right? Because we've been taught that the medical system has our back, that the medical system will, and science always focuses on truth, okay? But how can they focus on truth if they are not basing their foundation on the existence of, on the foundation, on the truth of human existence, right? They're basing it on the fact that we don't know who humans are. We don't know so many parts and so many details, when really that information is available to everyone. We just have to remember how to access it. That's it. So the moment that you walk into a room, okay, and you allow someone to put you in a classification, okay, this is the important part, is your energy, right? So your existence, who you are, is energy first, right? That's your soul. It's the vibration and frequency, that the energy that you exist within, okay? And it's not, and it's you. You're not within it. It's not in you. It's just who you are. It's understanding that this vibration can't be classified. And the moment that you put a label on it, a classification, these are all different forms of beliefs. Okay. So when people talk about beliefs, that's what they're talking about, right? The moment where someone said to you, well, you can't do that, right? And you either went, you're right, I can't do that because I don't have enough money, I don't have enough courage, I don't have enough experience, I don't have certification, right? All of those things. The reality is you placed yourself in that classification group because you believed the person that you were engaging with. Now, there's a bigger picture here and what this means. Because what happens, okay, so when you believe, it's like putting on an old sweater, okay? It's your most favorite sweater because, it feels so comfortable. It fits just right when you want to feel secure and relaxed and totally at ease, okay? It has a couple holes and you don't really necessarily want to wear it out, but it's one of your favorites, okay? And that's what ends up happening to your beliefs. You put them on and they're so comfortable. They are literally like your favorite piece of clothing. And what ends up happening is just like that favorite sweatshirt that you wear at home and has a couple holes, you don't want to wear it out, right? You have similar rules in your beliefs. It's the same thing. So you have a belief and all of a sudden you're like, well, oh my gosh, I really want to, have a retreat center one day. I really know that I'm meant to live by the water. But your belief system is, well, you like, how are you going to have the money to do that? That will never happen. And so you keep that cozy sweatshirt of that belief on. And that's society. That's civilization, if you will. Civilization is just a whole bunch of rules. That's all it is. Okay? Because the origin of human existence is that we were literally charged with exploring our potential, right? And so when you come into a place, right, and the only rule in the universe is free will. But now we live in a world that not only are there a whole bunch of rules of how we need to exist externally, right? We've got laws and regulations and, taxes, and they're all just rules, all of them. And we abide by them. But what they're showing me and what they're talking about today is those neurons in your brain, okay, are a reflection of the internal beliefs that you follow. That's what they are. That's why when you have a panic attack or you get anxiety, what's happening, okay, is your brain is being challenged to look at something from a different perspective. And your mind is like, no, I need to stay here because I know how this feels. Do not change anything because it takes me out of my comfort zone. And so it's really interesting because we've got the angelics, the first stream of angelics who are here and who participated in the manipulation of human existence, right? So they participated. Yes, the angelics did participate. That's a whole other story. We'll go there. I know I've touched a little bit on it, but they participated in it. And again, it's understanding that manipulation against someone else, right? It's just an exploration, but we have to choose to be manipulated. And that's the point of this whole conversation. You choose to be manipulated if you go in to anywhere and allow someone to classify you, whether it's your behavior, whether it's your what you're capable of. whether it's who you're allowed to hang out with or who you're not, right? What you can do. So think for a minute about how many times you've let other people tell you who you are and what you're capable of, what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. And I'm going to tell you that you're going to find there's a lot more of them than you thought. Okay? And when you start to pay attention to how many there are, your brain is going to start to react differently to them. How? Because you're the driver of the energy. You decide how you're going to experience it every single day. So if you've got a classification over here that says, oh, I'm ADHD. So every time you have an experience, your neurons are going to fire in a very specific way that lets you know, oh, yep, okay, this is an ADHD experience and I need to protect myself. I need to take action. I need to, whatever it is. Okay. And so you're no longer in an exploration of your potential. You're no longer present in the moment. You have zero concept of what it is your soul and your energy know you're meant to be experiencing in that moment. You have zero awareness of that because you have literally shifted and moved into a classification. It's why women and couples have a hard time conceiving sometimes because they've been told their body can't do that. It's why a lot of people step right into the energy of cancer because it's been for generations in their family. Their belief is, well, it's going to come. These things, yes, those are the bigger ones, okay? But the smaller ones that we don't notice on a day-to-day basis are why the pieces of your existence. Why does it always feel like it's harder than it needs to be? Why does it always feel, that you want something and it's just out of reach? Why does it feel like you have to trade one thing for another? Because your beliefs, the classifications that you use, are in direct response to how you mentally choose to react to the energy and the experiences that you're having. So they want you to begin to feel, okay, so as humans, we have the capacity to feel the neurons firing all the time, right? You have the capacity to feel your heartbeat and your breath, but we don't really pay attention to it. But if you choose to, you can. Now, again, it's also making sure that your mind is not programmed to think they're bad when something is intense. Okay? Because again, we're really good at that. Okay? So it's allowing your mind to relax and experience the sensations of the frequencies and vibrations that are being set off in you as a result of the energies and frequencies that are around you, that sometimes you're walking right through them, and sometimes they're, around you, sometimes they're behind you, but and sometimes you're connecting, right? It's understanding that energy is always moving. It's never static, and you are energy. So your vibration is constantly searching for more of your potential. Okay. So when you are in a state of decompressing, relaxing, trying to, whatever your brain has decided that, you've gone through a challenge and something is big and it's hard to go through. And so you're resting, you're working through it, you're thinking about it. Okay. What's really happening is you're prolonging that energy experience. You're prolonging it. Now, Why would you do that? Because again, you've been trained to take a break when you need it. So, how many times it's actually extremely common these days, right? Where people say, "Oh gosh, you need a break from your life, from your kids, from your partner, from your work. You need a break. You need a break. You need a break." Humans don't need breaks. We're not designed to need breaks. We are designed to learn from our experiences. And if that isn't working, we need to change it. The problem is we don't change it because of those rules that we started to learn as a child, way back, the ones they were talking about at the beginning, right? So, who you need to be, how you need to perform in the world, you're still working on that list, whether you're aware of it or not. How you be in your life is a reflection of those. And so what happens is your brain hasn't made space for moving forward, right? For continuing into the exploration. It wants to hold. And then we wonder why it's so uncomfortable, or we get really comfortable being in such deep discomfort that then what happens is it's not that we forget how to move forward, but we begin to choose to no longer move forward. And this is predominantly what a lot of humans are facing currently with this change in human existence, right? The restoration of consciousness as a foundation for being in this physical world, because that's what it was originally. It's only been 50,000 years that it hasn't been that way. And it's really not that long. And yet it's so many generations thick that our brains are so attached to it, right? So you keep thinking about it as that favorite sweater or sweatshirt or whatever it is, that favorite piece of clothing that you're just like, I don't want to let this go. And what the creator is saying is, we have to let it go. It's time. Because what's on the other side is all the things you're searching for. It's the freedom, it's the fulfillment, it's the joy and the peace of being able to be who you are, being able to follow your curiosity, and to naturally enjoy your life. And I know that there's a huge part of you that's like, that's all I want. And then the list comes up, but I have to do this and I have to do this and I can't do this and I don't have this. You need to be breaking up with that list, because it's that list that's determining your life right now. It's not your dreams and your goals. It's not your knowing of who you are and what you're meant to be experiencing. It's the list that holds all those secret thoughts, if you will, that are not actually so secret because your life is a reflection of them. And right now, in this moment, it's understanding that the neurons in your brain are programmed to ensure and to direct you towards fulfillment. But you are using them under a classification system that ensures you don't reach fulfillment. Yep, somebody taught you all those classifications, but you're choosing to use them now. You're choosing to follow them. And so the goal here is not to get angry at the people who put the classification system there, because guess what? That was part of their exploration. That's what they wanted to see, if they could what they could accomplish, how deep they could go. Your job is to go, oh, okay. So if that's the truth and I have the potential to experience fulfillment based on who I am, then I need to just move from the classification system into the fulfillment system, which is ultimately not a system. It's just following your instincts. There are no rules inside of it. Anytime there's rules, it's a classification system. And that's the base problem with the concept of society and civilization. It's all about classification. And they just layer one on top of another, on top of another. You know, the color of your skin, the location of where you live, your ancestors, gosh, the way your teeth develop, like there's everything. Your eyes, right? Are you farsighted or nearsighted? Are you kidding me? Right? How many people have the exact same prescription? But really, it's actually a combination of the way that the brain needs to focus on your environment so that you can see it how you're meant to see it. It's so finite, and yet it's so simple and it's so clear. But we're just looking at it backwards. We're looking at it from a classification system, which is science-based. And we're not classifications. You're not. You're complex. You're individual. And you have the greatest potential in existence itself. But you have to want to participate in it. And it is absolutely magnificent. But again, you have to give up the classification system because that system you can't reach fulfillment by using that classification system. It is impossible. So you can't live. And that's why so many people are going back and forth and there's so many challenges. You can't experience fulfillment living inside the classification system. Okay? So let me know. Let me know which is the biggest situation that you can see that you've fallen hook, line, and sinker into the classification system. You know, I know one of mine was that science and spirituality can't be friends, that science will never believe anything that spirituality says because it can't be proven. And because of that, that spirituality is angry at science, right? And the reality is true scientists, the ones who actually want to discover the truth of existence, they're simply there to ask why. And they have zero expectations, zero. And so at the heart of science and at the heart of spirituality, it's the exact same thing. It's beautiful. And when we allow those two to come together in the purity that they originally, right, the original energy of that purity, then we can thrive and we can work together and we can actually remove ourselves from the classification system. But it's when you use anything, including science, including spirituality, to put you into a classification system, that's where the problem is. That's where the challenges lie. So I'm going to encourage you to feel and share. Share what you're learning, share what you're feeling and you're experiencing. And notice as you go through your day how many classification systems you wear. You may find you're wearing a whole bunch of layers of clothing by the end of the day. Let me know what they are. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.